On the morning of Monday, July 19, 1976, employees of the Société Générale Bank in Nice, France, arrived at work to discover something extraordinary. The massive vault door stood intact. The alarms had never triggered. Yet inside, the scene told a different story. Safety deposit boxes lay scattered and emptied across the floor. Millions in cash, jewelry, gold, and documents had vanished. And on the wall, spray-painted in red, was a message that would become legendary. Sans armes, ni haine, ni violence. Without weapons, without hatred, without violence. The police stood baffled. There was no forced entry through any door or window. The vault itself showed no signs of tampering from the outside. It was as if the thieves had materialized inside the impenetrable chamber, helped themselves to a fortune, and simply disappeared. What investigators would eventually uncover was one of the most audacious and meticulously planned heists in criminal history. A tunnel dug over months beneath the streets of Nice, leading directly into the bank's vault. And at the center of this operation was a man whose life read like a novel, Albert Spaggiari. Albert Spaggiari was born on December 14, 1932, in La Ragne-Montéglin, a small town in the Haute-Alpes region of southeastern France. His early years gave little indication of the criminal mastermind he would become, though they did reveal a restless spirit that refused to conform to ordinary expectations. As a young man, Spaggiari joined the French army and served as a paratrooper in Indochina during the First Indochina War in the early 1950s. This experience shaped him profoundly. He developed skills in organization, discipline, and tactical thinking that would later prove invaluable. He also cultivated a taste for adventure and a contempt for conventional authority. After his military service, Spaggiari's life took several unconventional turns. He became involved with the Organisation de l'Armée Secrète, the OAS, a far-right paramilitary organization that opposed Algerian independence and attempted to assassinate French President Charles de Gaulle. In 1962, Spaggiari was arrested for his involvement with the OAS and served time in prison. This experience did nothing to diminish his anti-establishment views. If anything, it reinforced them. Following his release, Spaggiari settled in Nice on the French Riviera. He opened a photography shop and presented himself as a respectable businessman. He married and appeared to live the quiet life of a local merchant. But beneath this conventional exterior, Spaggiari was planning something spectacular. The Société Générale Bank on the Avenue Jean Médecin was one of Nice's most prominent financial institutions. Its underground vault was considered virtually impregnable, protected by thick, reinforced concrete walls, massive steel doors, and sophisticated alarm systems. The vault housed not only the bank's cash reserves, but also thousands of private safety deposit boxes belonging to the wealthy residents of the Riviera, a collection of jewelry, gold, cash, documents, and valuables worth an almost incalculable fortune. Spaggiari spent months studying the bank and its surroundings. He rented a safety deposit box himself, gaining legitimate access to the vault and allowing him to observe its layout, security measures, and the habits of the staff. He noted the thickness of the walls, the position of the vault relative to street level, and crucially, the proximity of the city's sewer system. The plan that emerged was elegant in its simplicity and audacious in its scope. Rather than attempt to break in through the heavily guarded bank entrance, Spaggiari would go underneath. The sewers of Nice ran directly beneath the Rue Gustave Deloye, which paralleled the bank. If a tunnel could be dug from the sewer to the vault, the thieves could bypass every security measure the bank had in place. Spaggiari could not execute such an ambitious plan alone. He needed a team, skilled individuals who could be trusted to maintain absolute secrecy and work for months without drawing attention. He recruited carefully, drawing on contacts from his OAS days and the criminal underworld of the French Riviera. The exact composition of the gang has never been definitively established, as Spaggiari refused to identify his accomplices even after his arrest. Estimates suggest between 15 and 20 men participated in various phases of the operation. They included welders, electricians, masons, and other tradespeople whose skills were essential for the construction work ahead. The man imposed strict discipline on the group. Each member knew only what was necessary for their specific role. Meetings were conducted with military precision. Loyalty was paramount, and given Spaggiari's connections, the consequences of betrayal were understood without needing to be stated explicitly. In May 1976, the work began. The gang accessed the sewer system through a storm drain and began excavating a tunnel toward the bank vault, located approximately 8 meters away. The work was grueling. The men labored in shifts, digging through earth and rock, shoring up the tunnel walls, and disposing of the excavated material without arousing suspicion. The operation required remarkable logistics. The gang set up a sophisticated underground camp complete with electric lighting, ventilation, cooking facilities, and even a wine supply. They worked through the nights and rested during the days. The noise of their drilling and digging was masked by the sounds of the sewer and the city above. One of the most challenging obstacles was the vault's foundation, a thick layer of reinforced concrete designed to resist exactly this type of attack. The gang used specialized equipment to cut through it, working slowly and carefully to avoid triggering any vibrations that might set off alarms or attract attention. After approximately 2 months of continuous labor, on the night of Friday, July 16, 1976, the tunnel broke through into the vault floor. The bank had closed for the weekend. The gang had nearly 60 hours before anyone would discover their work. What followed was a weekend of systematic looting that would become legendary. The gang entered the vault and set to work on the safety deposit boxes. They had brought tools to pry open the metal containers, and they worked methodically through the night and the following days. The vault contained approximately 400 safety deposit boxes. The gang opened and emptied the vast majority of them. Cash was stuffed into bags. Jewelry was sorted and collected. Gold bars and coins were carried back through the tunnel. Documents, some of them potentially compromising to powerful individuals, were examined and either taken or destroyed. The atmosphere in the vault was reportedly almost festive. The gang ate meals, drank wine, and took breaks to celebrate their success. At one point, they cooked sausages on a portable stove. They left behind the remains of their meals, wine bottles, and other evidence of their extended stay. Before departing, the gang leader left his famous message on the vault wall: "Sans armes, ni haine, ni violence." It was a statement of philosophy as much as a taunt. This was not a violent robbery, but an intellectual exercise, a triumph of planning over security, of cunning over brute force. On Sunday night, the gang departed through their tunnel, sealing the entrance behind them. They vanished into the night with their fortune. When bank employees discovered the break-in on Monday morning, the police were faced with a crime scene unlike anything they had encountered. The vault looked like the aftermath of a long party. Empty deposit boxes littered the floor. Food containers, wine bottles, and cigarette butts were scattered about. And the message on the wall seemed to mock their efforts before the investigation had even begun. Determining the value of what was stolen proved nearly impossible. Many deposit box holders refused to declare their losses, either because their valuables had been obtained illegally or because they wished to avoid attention from tax authorities. Official estimates placed the haul at approximately 50 million French francs, but the actual total may have been significantly higher, possibly reaching 100 million francs or more. The investigation proceeded slowly. The tunnel was examined. The sewer system was mapped. Witnesses were interviewed, but solid leads were scarce. The gang had left behind physical evidence, but nothing that immediately identified them. The break in the case came through a combination of police work and betrayal. In October 1976, about 3 months after the heist, investigators received a tip that led them to Albert Spaggiari. The source of this information has been debated, but it appears that someone connected to the gang, possibly a girlfriend of one of the participants, provided crucial details. Spaggiari was arrested on October 27, 1976. A search of his home and photography shop revealed items connected to the robbery, including photographs he had taken inside the vault during the heist. It was a remarkable piece of hubris. The meticulous planner had documented his own crime. Under interrogation, Spaggiari proved both cooperative and frustrating. He admitted his role as the mastermind and described the planning and execution of the heist in considerable detail. He seemed almost proud of what he had accomplished, treating the interviews as an opportunity to discuss his work. However, he refused absolutely to identify any of his accomplices. The tunnel, he suggested with characteristic wit, had been dug by moles. Spaggiari was held in custody awaiting trial. On March 10, 1977, during a hearing before examining Magistrate Richard Bouaziz at the Palais de Justice in Nice, he made one of the most dramatic escapes in French legal history. Spaggiari had asked to present documents to the judge and was allowed to approach the bench. The window behind the magistrate's desk was open. It was a warm day, and the room was on the third floor, which was considered secure. Without warning, Spaggiari leaped onto the judge's desk, pushed past the startled magistrate, and threw himself out the window. He landed on the roof of a car parked below, a Renault 5 that accomplices had positioned there for exactly this purpose. Despite breaking his wrist in the fall, Spaggiari climbed onto a waiting motorcycle and disappeared into the streets of Nice. He was never recaptured. For the next 12 years, Spaggiari lived as a wanted man, evading one of the largest manhunts in French history. He moved frequently, spending time in South America, and reportedly maintained contact with far-right networks that provided support and protection. During his years as a fugitive, Spaggiari wrote his memoirs, which were published under the title Les Égouts du Paradis, The Sewers of Paradise. The book provided his own account of the heist and became a bestseller in France. He also sold the film rights to his story, further profiting from his notoriety while remaining beyond the reach of French justice. Spaggiari communicated occasionally with journalists and even granted interviews from hiding. He presented himself as a romantic figure, a rebel who had outsmarted the establishment without resorting to violence. He expressed no remorse for the robbery, viewing it as a victimless crime against banks and wealthy individuals who could afford their losses. Albert Spaggiari died on June 10, 1989, in Hyères, France, from throat cancer. He was 56 years old. He had returned to France in his final months, aware that he was dying and apparently unconcerned about arrest. He passed away as a free man, having never served a prison sentence for the crime that made him famous. His accomplices were never identified or prosecuted. The stolen money and valuables were never recovered. The case remains officially unsolved, one of the great mysteries of 20th century crime. The Société Générale heist has inspired books, films, and countless discussions among students of criminal history. Its appeal lies not merely in the scale of the theft, but in the manner of its execution. Spaggiari had proven that the most sophisticated security systems could be bypassed not through force, but through intelligence, patience, and meticulous planning. His refusal to identify his accomplices added to his mystique. In an era of plea bargains and informants, Spaggiari maintained the old code of silence. He took full responsibility for his crime while protecting those who had helped him, earning respect even from those who condemned his actions. The message he left on the vault wall became his epitaph: without weapons, without hatred, without violence. It was a criminal philosophy that set Spaggiari apart from common thieves and elevated his heist to something approaching art. Whether one views Albert Spaggiari as a romantic rebel or a calculating criminal, his place in history is secure. He planned and executed one of the most daring robberies ever attempted, escaped from custody in spectacular fashion, and spent his final years as a free man, unrepentant and uncaptured. In the annals of crime, few stories can match the audacity and elegance of the sewer heist of Nice.